In 2011, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet devolved all his political authority to a democratically elected leader.
Now last year, he elected this young, energetic, educated, modern sort of educated, he elected. So then I thought, now time come, I should take full retirement, complete retirement. So now, politically, he is my boss. However, spiritually, I am his boss. Please.
당대 항상 수명이 관해 당류 강대 수주 조선 방주기 감자 템포 수주이
Lobsang, the first Tibetan lawyer from Harvard, was elected as the Sikyong of the Central Tibetan Administration. In 2016, he was re-elected for a second term.
And Sikyong, the Lobsang Mangzu Tane, Daya, Wendim Chunge, Dagado, Gyawan, Chasang Yodevchigi.
The boy from a small hill station in Darjeeling had an insurmountable mandate ahead. However, with the blessings of His Holiness himself and the love and support of the Tibetan people, President Sangay has taken the Central Tibetan Administration and the Tibetan freedom movement to new heights. Here is a look at President Lobsang Sangay and the Kashag's 8 achievements during 8 years in office. Improvement of education. Education is the Kashag's highest priority. In a historic move, the Central Tibetan Administration assumed the responsibility of managing all Tibetan schools in India under Sambodha Tibetan Schools Administration. Following the transfer, statistics showed significant improvement in students' performance. Class 12 pass percentage increased from 87.72% in 2011 to 97.08% in 2019. From 2011 to 2012, 640 students received scholarships for higher studies, whereas between 2018 and 2019, there were 1,118 recipients. The education budget increased almost 3 times from 198 million rupees in 2011 to 538.61 million rupees in 2019. In 2011, the number of Tibetan schools strictly following the basic education policy stands at just 9, while the figure jumped to 49 schools as of today. Increase in Central Tibetan Administration's annual budget. The annual budget has increased almost 3 times over the last 8 years, from 1.1 billion rupees in 2011 to 2.9 billion rupees in 2019. Budget relating to sustainability of Tibetan settlements, general health, entrepreneurship, and economic development increased many-folds. Tibetan Medicare System, a non-profit health insurance initiative, registered a whopping enrollment of 28,846 members for 2019. Kangjong Non-Commercial Bank and Tibetan Entrepreneurship Development, 2 initiatives under the aegis of Department of Finance, proved to be 2 successful major initiatives for Tibetans in the diaspora to sustain themselves and to be self-reliant. The mission of Kangjong Finance is to provide financial services and financial literacy to Tibetan entrepreneurs and promote Tibetan entrepreneurship. In its current form, since 2017, it has disbursed a total of 2,643 financial support, totaling USD 4.3 million, and more than 40% recipients were women. Transformation of Central Tibetan Administration. The Central Tibetan Administration, headquartered in Dharamshala, has undergone significant developments. It has been transformed in such a way so as to preserve and reflect traditional Tibetan architecture that meets the emotional and spiritual needs of the Tibetans in exile. A full-fledged Tibet news studio has been built to combat China's propaganda, which includes Tibet.net, with an annual page visitor of 9 million, and Tibettv news in Tibetan, English and Chinese. Beyond Kanggi, huge renovations are also being done to the Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts buildings. Keeping a far-sighted approach, Kashag bought office buildings for 2 of its foreign missions, the Office of Tibet based in Washington, D.C. and in Tokyo. In a powerful symbolism, the road to His Holiness the Dalai Lama's residence via Kanggi was renamed as the Potala Road in 2015, reflecting his return to the Potala Palace in Tibet. Sustainable development of Tibetan settlements. In 2014, after much effort, the Indian government passed the long-awaited Tibetan rehabilitation policy, making a clear policy statement about the welfare of Tibetans in India. For example, Tibetans in India may now pursue professional jobs such as nursing, engineering, etc., for which they are qualified. Tibetan identity certificates are no longer required to undergo no objection to return to India application process. Residential certificates can now be renewed online, with the period of renewal extended to a choice of 1 year or 5 years. In Kashag's effort to strengthen Tibetan freedom movement, Sikyong Dr. Lobsang Sangay, during his tenure, visited all Tibetan settlements in India and met with all members of Tibetan communities in other parts of the world. Year of Gratitude. Based on His Holiness's wise words that we should make new friends but never forget our old friends, the Kashag declared 2018 as the Year of Gratitude to thank Tibetan friends and supporters. A series of thank you events were held across the world, including in Australia, Germany, India, and the United States. The events were attended by respective ministers, members of parliament, mayors, and other senior government officials. For Tibetans, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is undisputedly their most important religious figure. To remove all the obstacles in the way of their leader, the Central Tibetan Administration offered 3 lifelong prayer services to His Holiness on behalf of its people. The 15th Kashag is the only Kashag to request and organize a Kala Chakra event, one of the most sacred Buddhist empowerment teachings in Bodh Gaya by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Around 2 lakh devotees attended the teaching, apart from the millions that watched the teaching live on internet. International advocacy and foreign delegations to Central Tibetan Administration. Dr. Sangay has traveled intensively to countries spanning over 5 continents, together with vigorous interaction with media, to strengthen international support and garner attention to Tibet issue in a time of a rising China and its influence. A move that urged China into constantly condemning such visits through its statements.
Everybody knows about Syria, talks about Syria, but not much about Tibet. Hence, it's a matter of great pride that I could represent and reflect the aspirations of Tibetans in Tibet and highlight or magnify the sufferings of Tibetans inside Tibet.
The Central Tibetan Administration in the past years drew visits from foreign dignitaries and delegations, reaffirming their solidarity and support for the Tibetan cause. In 2017, a high-profile bipartisan congressional delegation led by the Democratic leader of House Representatives Nancy Pelosi visited Central Tibetan Administration, followed by a 3-member European parliamentary delegation in 2018. In 2019, the former president of Botswana, Ian Khama, and parliamentarians from Europe, Germany, Canada, Slovakia, Taiwan, South Africa, Peru, and Italy attended the official ceremony commemorating the 10th March uprising. In August 2019, a high-level 6-member United States bipartisan congressional delegation led by Congressman David Price visited Dharamshala and expressed United States support for and solidarity with the Tibetans' quest for freedom from China's rule. Middle way approach. proposed by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama and democratically adopted by the Tibetan people and Central Tibetan Administration, the Middle Way Approach campaign was launched in 2014. The parliaments of European Union and of countries such as the United States, Canada, France, Italy, Japan, Australia, Brazil and Luxembourg proposed motions and issued statements in support of the Middle Way approach. Global leaders, including the former President of the United States, Barack Obama, expressed their support and called on China to embrace the Middle Way approach. 550 Vision. The 550 Vision strategizes to fulfill the aspirations of the Tibetan people to see the return of His Holiness the Dalai Lama to Tibet and the peaceful resolution to Tibet issue in the coming years. The 550 Vision prepares to further strengthen and reinvigorate the Tibetan movement for the next 50 years if needed.
Oh, wonderful. Knowledgeable. He never saw this mountain in Lhasa, but his knowledge is wonderful.
In spite of the numerous challenges in its way, the Kashag continues to forge ahead and lead the Tibetan struggle, keeping unity, innovation and self-reliance as the guiding principles.